away and racing. That is a brilliant manoeuvre. Oh! Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season for TCR UK. We arrive back where it all finished at the back end of 2023 at the always action-packed Brands Hatch Indy circuit for rounds 1, 2 and 3 of the 2024 TCR UK campaign. Andy McEwen here in the commentary box for the full season, joined today by a returning name to the TCR UK broadcast team, Jack Oliphant. We'll have Paul O'Neill back, keeping us all on our toes on the Sundays. But Jack, a new season, and it begins at one of the most iconic circuits in the country.
Absolutely. What a buzz, what an atmosphere that this has got going on for it. It's all of the drivers up and down the pits were excited, they were raring to go, they had the optimism that quite often gets extinguished with a bad crash, but hopefully that won't happen. Yeah, Brands Hatch is a fitting place to finish or start any championship, and well, the TCR have done both of that within the space of 6 months.
Exactly, it's always been a favourite place for TCR UK to visit, a short, sharp circuit, just the 6 corners, 1.2 miles in length, but it packs an awful lot of challenge into that 1.2 mile layout, the daunting Paddock Hill Bend, the run through the hairpin at Druids, down through Graham Hill Bend, good overtaking opportunities pretty much throughout, and for once at the start of the season, pretty nice weather as well. It is mild, it is a little cloudy, but it's not the ominous black clouds that we had looming over us at the back end of 2023 when last we visited Brands Hatch. It's going to be a lovely day, 2 days hopefully for racing here to kick off our 2024 season. So many storylines to talk through as we move into what will be, first of all, a qualifying session. This will set the grid for the first and third races of the weekend. Race 2, the first race tomorrow, will be the partially reversed grid, so the top 10 finishers from race 1 inverted to give us the grid for race 2. But this is an important qualifying session, Jack, not just to set the grid for those 2 races, but championship points on offer as well if you can qualify anywhere inside the top 6, and a good opportunity both from a points perspective and from a psychological perspective to start your season off the right way.
There's a lot of drivers who have been out there sort of doing a little bit of testing, maybe haven't had the car for that long though as well, so there's quite a few different stories up and down the grid. Qualifying's the first time you really get the idea of who's actually going to be fast, and there's no championship ballast either, so the cars are pretty much on as equal footing as they're ever going to be this season. And so again, the drivers have the opportunity to really put themselves forward, get themselves in the driving seat, challenge maybe those who are going to be the favourites. Maybe we can have some sort of surprise visits and surprise guests inside the top 5 for qualifying. It's really going to be very exciting. I think we just had the Fiesta Juniors just about pulling in, so we should have the cars out on circuit sooner rather than later. Actually, you can see the Fiestas just driving away, so that's fantastic stuff. We're going to get going soon.
We are indeed, and a shorter qualifying session as well than they're used to, down to 20 minutes instead of the usual 30. Now, yes, it's a short circuit this, but you know, no matter how many cars are on the grid, really, finding clear track, clear space to get your lap in can be tricky. You've got to get the tyres into the window. They're not always in that window for very long either. So I'm sure you will be able to speak from some experience as well, having raced here at Brands Hatch. It's not an easy place to get a qualifying session right. And as we've said, that can dictate how the rest of your weekend can go. Well, we're almost ready to get cars released from the pit lane. It is time to start the new season in TCR UK. So cars out of the pit lane then, qualifying is go here at Brands Hatch. Time to set the grid for our first race of the 2024 season, which will be coming up later on this afternoon. As I was just saying, it will take the drivers a few minutes to get the tyres up to temperature, which, Jack, gives us an opportunity to look ahead to what is going to be a busy qualifying session here. I touched upon it there. You've raced here at Brands Hatch before. So nice, by the way, to have a proper professional racing driver in the box with me at last. I can really pick your brains now, Jack. What is it like trying to get your head in the game here, knowing that it's a short lap, but a one where the lap times are always going to be super tight?
I feel like I don't know Paul O'Neill well enough yet to take the mic there, but yeah, no, to be honest, it's a nightmare. Brands Hatch Indy is an absolute nightmare for getting any kind of space. Quite often you want to get into some kind of rhythm, you want to sort of build up some momentum, get heat in the tyres and sort of hit that window, and about 2 or 3 laps in, preferably for me it was always about 3 or 4 laps in, I felt like I was in the right space, and I felt like the tyres and the car was sort of up to temperature as well. But with Brands Hatch, I mean, it's more like 5 or 6 laps, and by then you can go out in some nice clear space. Within 2 laps, somebody's overtaken you, you've caught somebody else up. It's a real bit of a nightmare. So again, about qualifying management, race management almost sort of thing, and trying to find that clear space. And we'll see the most experienced guys do the best in that. You know, we're looking at the likes of Carl Boardley, obviously reigning champion out there. Where can he pick up some decent space? Can he get onto that pole position to try and restart this this season just as strongly as he finished last one? There's Brad Hutchison. That is a tasty looking car. It's changed from the Audi and going to the Cooper now, and he's saying it looks fairly fast. There's quite a lot of Coopers out there, especially some of the protagonists that we've got in this championship, all racing in that Cooper now, and it looks pretty stunning, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Hutchison's example heading towards us now. Brad, I think, is a bit of a dark horse for the championship this year. Remember, he did have that one outing in the Gen 2 Cooper at Donington Park last year, won a race on the road, unfortunately not able to keep it, but proved by leading every single lap of that race and charging away from some much more experienced competitors behind him that he is going to be a contender in that car. I suspect that this man will also be competitive. Joe Marshall entering into his 2nd season of TCR UK competition, back aboard one of the Gen 2 Audis, and the car right behind him, the white and purple Cupra of Adam Shepherd. We're used to seeing him in a similarly liveried Hyundai i30N, but actually at the wheel of a Cupra now for the 2024 season. It's also likely to be towards the sharp end. That, by the way, one of the more interesting additions to the grid for this weekend. In fact, we will have this car on the grid for the duration of the season, but Victor Anderson at the wheel of a Pro Alloys Racing entered Link & Co., which is a car that's done great things over on the international scene of TCR racing, making its TCR UK debut. So nice to have another shape of car on the grid. Victor doing a one-off appearance, one-off race weekend in TCR UK before that car is handed over to Ryan Bensley, who moves up from the Miltech Sports Civic Cup, which was also got racing, of course, alongside TCR UK for the duration of the year. Brad Hutchison then starting to weave around, trying to get himself some heat in the tyres, but as we're seeing, lots of drivers are going out, doing a few installation laps, then diving back for the pit lane again. Whoops, and a car spins, and that's one of the Hondas heading for the barriers, and gentle contact with the barrier heading down out of Druid's Corner, and that is the returning Will Powell. Will Powell, who raced in TCR UK right back when it first began a number of years ago, has already found himself spinning on cold tyres, and that was at super low speed. He was weaving around on an outlap from the pit lane, I think, and just lost control of the rear of the car and headed for the barriers. And a great example there of how sketchy these cars can be when those Goodyear tyres are cold. And on the outlap from the pit lane, even at low speed, possible to get a little bit out of shape. And Will Powell, who's got high hopes actually, stepping into one of those older spec Hondas, not getting his season off to the ideal start. Turns his way now through Surtees and may well head for the pit lane just to get that car checked over. So, drama already. As I was starting to say, lots of drivers in and out of the pit lane, swapping tyres over, trying to get some heat into those tyres. And already, Jack, one driver falling victim of cold tyres.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, these front-wheel drives to get the temperature in the rears. I mean, this is one of the warmer days that we've had so far in the year, to be honest. So, if they're going to have any opportunity of getting the cars warmed up, it's going to be now. Luckily, though, no yellow flags out there, I don't think so. The other drivers can sort of carry on cracking on. There's Alden, of course, trying to get round and doing exactly that. It's interesting. I was going to say, a lot of drivers, will they surely come in, Andy, you'll know better than I, actually, about swapping tyres from left to right or front to back or anything like that. It's quite a common thing that they do over in TCR Australia, I know, and other sort of front-wheel drive championships. So again, you'll see quite a lot of that. We won't see the flying laps, the fully fledged flying laps, until about 5 minutes into this qualifying, which, to be fair, actually, we are now 6 minutes in. We've been sort of talking about this for quite some time, and the drivers have been out there warming themselves up. We've been warming ourselves up here in the commentary box as well. We've had the timing just have a little bit of a moment on us, but we've got it back now, I think, so we should see some cars getting out there. There is Carl Boardley, obviously reigning champ he's going to be looking to try and put his best foot forward, really stake a claim again to try and say that he's the front runner. But I think we mentioned in the build-up Andy Victor Anderson, who was again sort of one of these drivers coming over from TCR Europe, ready to set the benchmark. How quick can these drivers really go if they went to the European Championships or the World Championships or anything like that? Because they set the world, they set the UK alight. They're very exciting over here. How quick are they compared to the step up, the next step on the TCR ladder?
Exactly, and I think probably this man here on screen, one of those particularly excited actually to put himself up against a driver with international TCR experience, and Carl Boardley is going to be wanting to prove a point here, I suspect, and that point being that he is as quick as anyone in TCR machinery, and not just the best within the UK. We just had a car off, I think it was Mark Smith with a spin down at Graham Hill Bend, just spotted that out of the window, but we are starting now to get some lap times on the board. The sort of lap times we're looking for, Jack, somewhere in the low 48-second bracket. In fact, Jensen Brickley set the qualifying lap record here in qualifying at the back end of last year. That was a 48.283, so it'll be interesting to see how close we can get to that in this qualifying session. At the moment, for what it's worth, Adam Shepherd pole provisionally on a 49.0 with Callum Newsham second fastest and Rick Kerry in the pit lane third fastest, but no one yet getting down to a proper representative time. And Jack, we're nearly halfway through the session. Normally we have 30 minutes. They've got plenty of time to get the job done. I hope they've got the memo that qualifying's been shortened to 20 minutes this time, because there doesn't seem to be a great sense of urgency.
No, I was going to say, I was expecting some kind of lap times being put in. I mean, Callum Newsham has just gone in and put a lap time of 48.622, put himself on provisional pole position, but again, we're expecting times to be under that even. So, we need a few drivers to sort of really take the bull by the horns, get out there and start putting some flying laps in before we can really get excited about anything, because we're expecting around Brands Hatch Indy the gap to be well under half a second pretty much for the entire field.
I suspect so, and that means you are fighting for hundredths and thousandths of a second. At the moment, Callum Newsham has gone to the top of the times. Now, that's a 48.6. That's not a million miles away from a representative lap time. So we are now starting to see drivers getting heat into the tyres. Joe Marshall-Burks goes second quickest now, demotes Adam Shepherd down to third. Will Beach is heading out of Clearways and Clark Curve on what looks to be a reasonably good lap for the Golf driver. Nice to have a VW Golf back on the grid. Isaac Smith, of course, very nearly won a championship a couple of years ago in a VW Golf. The first ever TCR UK champion, Dan Lloyd, did so in dominant fashion at the wheel of a VW Golf, and it's nice to see one of the oldest cars on the grid still going reasonably strong. He's making his way up through Druids Corner now, and Will Beach currently finds himself just inside the top 10.
Yeah, it actually brings us nicely on to another sort of feature of the TCR, which is Gen 1 Cup.
Yes.
Yes, because of course, yeah, I mean, you're saying it's one of the older cars. There's quite a few of the older statesmen in terms of cars and machinery out there, ready to represent in the Gen 1 Cup. So the drivers and cars that are eligible for that, Cedric Bloch, who's in the Audi RS3, TCR of course, Simon Mauger in the Cupra, Jeff Alden in the Astra, Victor Anderson, it says he's eligible, but he's not, because that Lincoln car is definitely not a Gen 1 car. Rick Kerry also in the Cupra, Will Beach we just mentioned, Bradley Thurston, Mark Smith, all eligible for the Gen 1 Cup. So that's sort of a fight within a fight, isn't it, for some of the older machinery for drivers to sort of get excited about. And I believe the winner of that one per race will get a trophy as well.
Yes, indeed they will. Plenty to fight for no matter where you are up and down the order. You'll notice Adam Shepherd's name is greyed out on your timing town. Now that is because that's why he has pulled off, I'm afraid, on the way out of Graham Hill Bend. Now it's sadly not been an uncommon sight to see Adam Shepherd parked at the side of the road suffering from mechanical dramas over the years, but with this new to him anyway, Gen 2 Cupra, I'm sure he was hoping that the mechanical woes would be behind him, but he had, I think it was a drive shaft issue in testing yesterday, so only got one of the two allocated test sessions in on the Friday. And unfortunately, Adam Shepherd now finds himself at the side of the road, and that is not the ideal start to his championship campaign. Adam Shepherd, who has been multiple times now a race winner, in fact twice a race winner, I thought he'd win more races than that, twice a race winner in TCR UK, both times coming at Donington Park actually, but this is his local circuit, and Jack, he would have really been hoping to start his season off well at a track that he knows and loves.
We tried our best, didn't we? We banned you from talking about it.
Yes, but, not to blame this time.
Yeah, you're not to blame. But yeah, when we were even picking him up in the in the sort of little intro we did on social media, which of course you can go and find on Instagram at TCR UK and stuff. But it's just a shame that we haven't got him in qualifying anymore, it seems. We've got Callum Newsham, who set the early pace. He's in third. Burks is in second. Anderson, no, there we go. He's straight to the top, isn't he, pretty much, with 8.5 minutes to go. They are the times that we're sort of expecting that 48.4. If anybody gets to 48.3s, we're probably expecting that to be a strong pole position time. I'd be surprised if we see Jensen's time getting beaten at 48.2, because that was set on a pretty beautiful day, I imagine. But to be fair, this is a pretty bang-on day for motorsport, isn't it, actually? I mean, around that sort of high teens, bit of cloud cover, no sort of water out there, but equally not too hot.
I would say it's warmer today than it was at the back end of last year for qualifying. That may slow the engines down. Turbocharged engines, of course, in these TCR cars, they don't really like it too warm. Not that it's baking hot, but it is, I think, maybe a touch warmer than it was at the end of the year. So yeah, I think a 48.4 is a good effort from Victor Anderson, who takes the Lincoln Co into the pit lane. But look how close it is at the top. The top three drivers at the moment covered by 0.03 of a second, less than half a tenth of a second between the top three. Victor Anderson, Joe Marshall-Burks and Callum Newsham. Hutchison just improved to fourth. Luke Sargent into the top five. And no representative time as of yet for our reigning champion Carl Boardley, but he did that here at the end of last year. It took him 2/3 of the session to set a lap time, and in the end he ended up getting somewhere at least towards the pointy end of the grid. But whether this is by design or he's got some sort of an issue, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but Marshall-Burks has just gone on to pole position for the time being as well, just as you were finishing that, Andy. So we've got a new potential pole position driver with Victor Anderson in the pit lane. You're right, I think Carl Boardley is a bit of a surprise to me, you'd have thought. In fact, there we go. Well, it's not really that much of a representative time, and you can start to get the impression that maybe he's charging up. I don't really know what he's been doing for the last 13 minutes, but, you know, whatever. It's... who am I to judge someone who's actually gone and won this championship? So, yeah, he's obviously got something up his sleeve, but now he needs probably 6 minutes of solid running, getting the laps in around this Brands Hatch Indy to try and generate the heat and generate the opportunity for himself. He looks like he's in a good bit of space, though. Maybe that's what his problem was early on. He just couldn't find the track space.
Possible. He's been in and out of the pit lane a few times, I've noticed. So, yeah, maybe they are fighting some issue. Maybe setup was being tweaked, but now he is pushing on and turns his way up through Clearways and Clark Curve. We're not getting sector times, unfortunately, today, so we'll have to wait for another few seconds to see whether he's going quicker this time. His current best time is a 48.989. He will come across the timing line and goes onto the front row of the grid. That's more like it for the reigning champ. Car number 1 is P number 2 provisionally on the grid, but with still 6 minutes left of the qualifying session to go. So it's still Joe Marshall-Burks fastest then by now, just under a tenth of a second from Boardley. Victor Anderson still in the pit lane in the Lincoln Co is third, ahead of Callum Newsham. The top 4 covered by a tenth and a half.
Yeah, it's starting to get to that point now where you start to get excited, isn't it, with the sort of closing stages of qualifying. The cars are starting to finally sort of open and get their legs going a little bit, basically. Is open the taps a little bit and see what the pace is. There is Carl Boardley, a little bit of a puff of smoke. You can see they're pushing now, Andy, because they're cocking that rear wheel. A lovely sort of entry there by Carl Boardley. As I said, not entirely sure what kind of sector times he's doing, but that's Joe Marshall in the pits. Another driver that you tipped to be very quick, Andy.
And he was quickest, but no longer. Boardley goes to the top with a 48.212, a new qualifying lap record here at Brands Hatch. That is fractionally quicker than Jensen Brickley went last year, and I get the feeling that Boardley could go faster than that again, because he's still sort of building himself up, winding himself up. I think he's still got life in the tyres, and he's going to be pushing on for the remainder of the session. Joe Marshall-Burks, therefore, in a hurry to get back out on track to try and get that pole position back. Victor Anderson has returned to the circuit as well, and I've also just spied out of the commentary box window car 117 back on circuit. That is Adam Shepherd, so he went into the pit lane via the back entrance, and the team appear to have fixed the issue and got him back underway.
Yeah, fingers crossed anyway, because he's one of the drivers that would probably sit right in between that, less than a tenth of a second away from pole position, if not be the driver who actually puts the pole position time in. He's very quick, should have had a lot more race wins. In fact, your surprise isn't surprising that he's only had 2 race wins to his name, to be honest, because he's definitely deserved of more. And I think this season he's very much hoping that he gets all that bad luck is gone, it's behind him, he can now crack on and see this season through. But Boardley, yeah, he's starting to turn the taps up now a little bit. Will Powell, have we seen him back out? He's still in the pits, isn't he? Really, 1.2 seconds off, not where he wanted to be.
He has been out, but is back in now. I don't know whether he damaged the car with that little trip to the barriers early on in the session, but yeah, we'll see whether he can improve. Boardley is absolutely flying, but Callum Newsham has just done a 48.0. I suspect that was the reason for Jack's exclamation just now. 2 tenths up on the reigning champ, Jack.
It absolutely was my point of exclamation. I mean, I don't like to to interrupt you, Andy, but when somebody goes 2 tenths quicker than a lap record, a previous qualifying record, you can't help but have a smile on your face. Callum Newsham absolutely flying there. Fair play to him. He's one of the drivers actually that I recognise from the last couple of times that I've been around. Callum's been around for quite some time. Look at the body language of that Hyundai now. He's fully on it, isn't he? He's getting that rear wheel all cocked up. He's bouncing the car around. He's not messing around. He's not worried about being overly smooth though, is he? He's just manhandling that car, trying to get the time out of it. I wouldn't be surprised. Look at that, hugging the white line. Oh. And he's just gone past her by a tenth of a second. Callum Newsham is setting Brands Hatch alight.
47.9. That was another tenth and a bit that he found. That was remarkable stuff from Callum, who, you're absolutely right, has been around in the championship for a few years now. There's no doubt about it. Last year, he made a big step forward in pace. The problem was reliability. He was plagued with reliability issues, particularly in the first half of the season. That really wrote off any chance of a championship winning campaign, but he has arrived at Brands Hatch meaning business at the start of 2024, 47.9, and here's everybody saying that the Cupra is going to be the fastest car. No one's going to be able to keep up with the Cupra. Everyone's ditched the i30N to get one of the Gen 2 Cupras, and hey presto, it's an i30N back on the top of the times. 4 now, 2.5 minutes to go though. Does Carl Boardley have a response?
Well, that's what we're waiting for now. Joe Marshall as well is out there. Adam Shepherd's now finally putting a time which is almost close. There's Victor Anderson into third place, 3 tenths off. With 2 minutes to go, we can start seeing these closing up now as well. Some of the drivers that we were expecting, Luke Sargent as well, Brad Hutchinson. I think Brad, he's leaving it very, very late, isn't he? With 2 minutes to go, he's still sat in the pit lane. Adam Shepherd up to third place. He just goes to show if he didn't have that off, where would he be? Would he be right there with Callum Newsham? Or would he actually have just had it later on, the problem?
You did say, though, did you not, a few minutes ago, he would likely fit in that tenth of a second gap between Boardley and Anderson. That's exactly what he's done.
I'll tell you what, it's the reason why I'm here on this Saturday, isn't it? I mean, I'm quite proud of that one. I mean, I'm sure it won't end up like that, but it is quite a good guess. Now, that is Victor Anderson following Callum Newsham now as well. Is there something in that? Is there a little bit of slipstream? Is he trying to learn the UK tracks? Victor Anderson hasn't actually. Is that actually Victor Anderson?
It was, yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was oohing and ahhing at Adam Shepherd pulling off the track again, unfortunately. The same location where he just did earlier on, so we were picking him up. I was about to make the point that he will probably go quicker than that because he got the tyres up to temperature. This is not a replay, I'm afraid. That is exactly the same spot he pulled up in earlier on, and his session now, surely with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, has come to a premature conclusion, but I think he was likely to start getting quicker over the next few laps had he not had that issue. So, Callum Newsham looking untouchable at the moment at 47.907, a new qualifying lap record. Carl Boardley second. What can Victor Anderson do, though? He is 1/1000th of a second slower than the reigning champion Carl Boardley. Where do you find an extra thousandth of a second? Well, let's see if Victor Anderson has the answer. Yes, he does. Goes onto the front row of the grid, and it is a Lincoln Co. joining a Hyundai on the front row provisionally. Can Carl Boardley respond? Out of the pits goes Brad Hutchison, but he hasn't got time to complete an outlap and get back round anyway, so his session is essentially done. He's down in 6th position, but a brilliant late effort there from Anderson. I doubt he can challenge Newsham, but that will still be a very impressive front row starting position.
You were asking where's he going to find a thousandth of a second? Well, the answer is in track knowledge. He's never driven Brands Hatch. Like this is his first proper attack of Brands Hatch in anger. I think he was here yesterday, but they only had 2 half-hour sessions. Obviously, one of them scrubbing tyres and warming up and everything like that. This is his opportunity now to really learn it. That's why I was interested to know whether he was following Callum Newsham for a reason, whether he saw that he was the strongest driver out there in terms of qualifying pace. I need to learn from him. Victor Anderson, and he has learned everything from him. Callum Newsham in the pit lane. Was the checkered flag out?
No, it wasn't.
No, so he gets this one last opportunity to get 300ths of a second, Andy. That's all he needs for a maiden pole position in the TCR UK.
And he is still pushing on as they head round Druids then. He is still on a push lap. He's got, I think, Will Powell's Honda up the road, but he's pushing on as well, so no traffic issues for Victor Anderson. Could he pull off what would be a remarkable debut pole position and rob Callum Newsham of what would be his first ever pole position, from a qualifying session anyway, in TCR UK? Either way, it looks like we'll have a new name starting from position 1 later on this afternoon, but will it be a Hyundai or will it be a Lincoln Co? Out of clearways and Clark Curve comes Victor Anderson then, making his TCR UK debut. He makes the blast through Clark Curve to the timing line, which he will break momentarily. Is it an improvement? The answer is no. Victor Anderson unfortunately doesn't quite manage to improve. His final lap time of a 48.1 was a couple of tenths off his previous best, but still good enough for for a front row starting position, but it is Callum Newsham starting from pole.
Absolutely, yeah. Callum with an absolutely stunning end, and now it's Andy McEwen's turn to put the pace on as he now tries to get down from our commentary position down into the pit lane to interview Callum Newsham. So we'll have a little bit of a chat, and then we will have a bit of an advert break before we go into interviews with Andy McEwen and Callum Newsham. Victor Anderson, if anybody out there is wondering, where's he turned up from? Well, it's no surprise really that he's right at the front end of the order. In 2023, he was 5th in TCR Europe. He had 2 pole positions, the most of any driver. He knows how to turn on a qualifying performance, and really, he'll probably be a bit gutted that he didn't find the extra 300ths of a second. Around Brands Hatch, that is a lot bigger gap than most other circuits. If you had 300ths of a second around, say, Silverstone GP, that'd be an absolutely enormous gap, but around, absolutely minuscule gap, but around Brands Hatch, that can be quite a bit. But you can see each and every lap he was gaining. He was sort of pulling up to the back of each of them. As Callum Newsham, though, can't take anything away. A qualifying record here in the TCR UK. Carl Boardley in 3rd place. He won't be too bothered about that. And in fact, there it is on your screen. Joe Marshall in 4th after being in the pits quite a few times, having to come out, maybe a few little teething problems, setup changes. Adam Shepherd, well, if anybody has teething problems, it's going to be him, isn't it, really, unfortunately. The 117 car, Group for Leon Competition, ended up pulling off the circuit twice, both in exactly the same location. I can tell you that it's not in that location anymore, so I'm guessing he's managed to drive back to the pits. They might as well just keep that gate open for him, unfortunately. Brad Hutchison, maybe nowhere near as quick as he was hoping for. It'd be interesting to see if we can get a chat with him on the socials that Andy will be doing throughout the day. 0.6 of a second off pole position. We expected him to be a lot higher up in his new Cupra. Luke Sargent as well at the 115, going to be disappointed about a second off. Will Powell, after having that early spin, never really found any kind of momentum. Darren Lewis in 9th. He is one of the drivers that we sort of picked out for the Goodyear Diamond Trophy for the over 45s. William Beach down in 10th position in the Volkswagen Golf GTI, 1.7 seconds off. A lot of these drivers, you don't really feel got the full representative times out there. In only a 20-minute qualifying session, they probably could have done with 25 or half an hour. Rick Kerry is in 11th, Bradley Thurston in 12th place, with Mark Smith in 13th, and Jeffrey Alden in 14th. Callum Newsham then on pole position, and then Darrell Wilson is at the spearhead of the other end in 15th position. Don't forget, there's all the action coming up later on the TCR YouTube page, YouTube channel, as well as the Civic Cups and all the BRSCC support races. You can find them on the live streams coming a little later on, but the Civic Cup is actually what we've got to look forward to in terms of qualifying in a couple of hours' time. I believe we can shoot to a quick advert break before hopefully Andy McEwen is down there chatting to our pole position driver.
Let it go.
Got so much weight on my shoulders, enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till it's over. You want honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man.
Is your business ready to switch over to cloud telephony before the BT analog switch off? If you're not sure, you can get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks for free, covering broadband, phone systems, IT support and more. Arrange your free audit today at maximumbnetworks.co.uk.
We are Big Motoring World, one of the largest car supermarkets in the UK. We have over 5,000 cars in stock. We are big on choice. We are big on value. We are big on quality. We are big on service. We are big on trust. All of our cars come with a 200-point mechanical inspection. We know what is important to our customers, and we have built the business around this because we are big on what matters to you.
Next year, BT switch off their old analogue network for good. Make sure your business is ready to switch over to cloud telephony. Get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks today, for free. Future-proof your business now. Arrange your free audit today at maximumnetworks.co.uk.
He's all the way around the outside. Miles for the lead.
Side by side, who's going to be the bigger man?
Well, I've hot-footed it down to the pit lane to catch up with our newest name to add to the list of pole sitters in TCR UK. Callum Newsham, took you a while, but finally the first pole position is yours. That must feel good.
Yeah, no, I'm over the moon. It's been a long time coming. We've had a lot of mechanical issues, let's say. But yeah, the car performed really well today, and I think I put a good lap in. Only just pole, but I'll take it. I'm pretty happy with that.
You expect the fine margins around here, though, don't you? It's such a short circuit. Is there anywhere that you think you maybe left any time on the table, or do you think that's the pace?
I think maybe half a tenth might have been, but that was a pretty good lap from me. But yeah, let's see if I can convert it into a race win.
I said during the session then that, you know, your pace has never really been in doubt. You made a big step forward in pace over the course of 2023, but luck just wasn't ever on your side, really. But have you come into 2024 feeling that you at least have what it takes to fight for a championship?
Yeah, I think so, because the team's done a massive job, replaced pretty much nearly everything on the car, because we're having so many issues. We've gone through 2 engines in the past year. So yeah, I think we have good reliability and the pace, so I don't see why we can't fight for it.
And of course, you've got the advantage of having a car that you already know. You know, a lot of drivers out there have been quick in the past, but they've got new cars to try and learn, and a lot of them are saying they're still struggling with that. So you've really got to try and make hay while the sun shines, haven't you, and sort of score points whilst they're maybe still learning.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, I thought the Coopers would be a lot quicker than us today, but clearly not, which is really good, because it's such an old car as well. It's a Gen 1, isn't it? But so yeah, it's good.
Maybe the balance performance is working. Maybe we'll have to wait and see how it goes in the race. Let's talk about the race then. You're going to have Victor Anderson starting alongside you. He was getting quicker and quicker as the session went on. Another of those drivers who's learning the track for the first time. How do you go about racing a driver like that in that first race, who we know isn't here for the full season, but is very much going to pose a threat to you in race 1? Yeah,
I think he will. And I think he's driven the Lincoln Co previously, so he's done practice starts. So I haven't done any practice starts yet this weekend, sorry. So yeah, we'll try and get off the line and hopefully stay ahead of him. But if not, we'll race with him and hope he's clean.
Good stuff. We're looking forward to a good race. You've got your pole position cap there. Callum Newsham then on the pole position. Congratulations, Callum. Brilliant effort in qualifying. Tune in a bit later on to find out how he gets on in race number 1. We'll have more action here from Brands Hatch on the other side of the break.
Let it go.
Got so much weight on my shoulders, enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till
Carl Boardley, 2023 TCR UK Touring Car Series Drivers' Champion. You're back again. What's just round out last year for us? It was a great year for you.
Yep, really good year. Didn't start off quite to plan, but after being here, Snetterton last year, we got things organised and sorted out how we wanted to. Went to Croft, done really well there. Had what I would call a win took away for track limits, but we won't go into track limits.
We won't go into that now.
We won't go into that just yet. And it just went from there, really. I was then comfortable with the car, comfortable with everything around me, surroundings, team, bits and pieces like that. I got to learn the car quite quickly. We just carried on tweaking the car, just little steps as we went, throughout the year. Got me first official win at Alton Park. Then went to Knockhill. I love Knockhill. Proper driver's circuit. Yeah, I love the place. So really confident to go up there. So yeah, we had a couple of wins and only just narrowly missed out on a hat trick of wins there. So that was really good. Confidence up. And just carried that through Silverstone, Donington, and then by the time we got to Brands, it was a case of just not doing anything silly, just playing it a little bit safe, which is not really normally in my nature. But yeah, we somehow managed to dial my brain in to just dull it down a little bit, be sensible, and yeah, we managed to get the job done in the first race at Brands Hatch. So yeah, really good end to a really good year. Yeah, and get the job done you did. But just talk to us about how it felt to to win the championship and all that hard work for the year building up. And you said you had a slow start and building up to the end of the year. It must have been really good to celebrate with the team. Yeah, I mean, immensely proud for for myself, my family. Everyone sort of behind me in the background. You sort of don't really realise, a lot of the time how much time, effort and, things that other people put into it as well. So, yeah, massively grateful to, to Nick, Andy, Paul and Jack, the boys that are on my car and my dad as well. So, yeah, immensely proud, really happy to get a circuit championship under my belt, because that's now the first circuit one that I've done. I've won, lots of other bits and pieces, but never a circuit one. So that was nice to finally tick that box as well. Yeah, great way to end a good year, as you've mentioned. And rolling into this year, 2024, clearly you were in a good trajectory towards the end of last year, being really strong at the end of the year, and you're carrying on that momentum with not a huge amount changing. So talk to us about, this year, the car, the team, everything that you're going to be racing this season. So we're going to stick together. So, it'll be my lads with Nick Hart. Done the job last year. There's no reason why it can't continue. We all get on really well. We have a fair bit of banter, shall we say, all the time, which for me is a big part of what we do. You want to be having a smile on your face and enjoy what you're doing. Stayed with the same Cupra. We didn't really tweak it too much last year because we found a sort of a reasonable sweet spot with it from the off. It was just a case of tweak as we went. We have fundamentally done a few little bits and pieces, changes over the winter, which I wanted to do last year. Pace-wise, we've rocked up yesterday, and this morning basically repeated the time from yesterday that we did, so it wasn't just a one-off. And yeah, we're quite impressed with where we're at pace-wise. So great. Yeah, it's just a case of keeping things reliable. Had option to switch to a different car manufacturer. Decided not to. The Cupra never let me down last year, both in performance and reliability. So decided that was the thing to stick to. And the car we had was pretty much new at the start of last year, so it's not done a lot of work either. And fortunately, the driver's not binned it at all, so it's still in good nick. Still in good nick, indeed. And you mentioned the pace has been good so far in testing, and of course we saw the pace on track last year with the good results. Let's look ahead to this year. What would a good year look like to you? I mean, I think I know the answer, of course, but we've got some stiff competition, some returning drivers, some new drivers. So what would a good year look like to you, and what do you think the season's going to look like from your perspective? Well, obviously a good year for me. You've summed it up, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those. Yeah, obviously we're here and we want to be doing well, and if we can, retain the number one on the car. So that's going to be the ultimate aim. Like you say, there's going to be stiff competition, as there always is. I feel that I'm in a good place. I feel the car and the team are in a good place. So, we'll see who else has raised their game over the winter, and yeah, when we get to Brands, we'll proof's in the pudding, innit? Yeah, and what do you think your biggest challenges this year are going to be in terms of retaining that title? Still waiting to just see who's going to come out of the woodwork to come onto the grid as well. I think one or two people might be a bit, slow in sort of showing their cards as to who's gonna come and have a play with us this year. So, there's going to be some returning drivers, all of which we've, banged door mirrors with last year, and they'll obviously put up a really big fight as they did last time. So, there might be an odd surprise coming as well. Maybe a newbie, shows his face and is up there as well. But I'm sure it will be pretty much a continuation of last year. There'll be potentially 7, 8, 9, 10 people, really battling at the front. So yeah, relishing that and looking forward to some good racing.
Looking forward to some good racing indeed. And let's touch on the championship. You mentioned, up to 10 people all fighting for good wins. It's something that draws you to the championship, the fact that the closeness between the drivers.
Yeah, the closest between the drivers and also the cars. The balance of performance, I believe, works quite well. So, we're out this morning, I sort of just followed a Hyundai down the straight, and it just left my car considerably in a straight line. But then my car might be a little bit more nimble through the corners and stuff like that. So everything evens itself out. The balance of performance is there for a reason. I think it works well. So yeah, the closeness of the cars is there, and like you say, also the drivers. So it's what makes it a good championship.
And we're looking forward to seeing you out on track in the championship this year. Carl, thank you so much for chatting to us on this media day. We hope the season starts potentially even better than last year, and maybe we'll see you at the title again this year, but all we know is it's going to be a good fight. So thanks for chatting to us.
No worries, thanks.
We are Big Motoring World, one of the largest car supermarkets in the UK. We have over 5,000 cars in stock. We are big on choice. We are big on value. We are big on quality. We are big on service. We are big on trust. All of our cars come with a 200-point mechanical inspection. We know what is important to our customers, and we have built the business around this because we are big on what matters to you.
Is your business ready to switch over to cloud telephony before the BT analogue switch off? If you're not sure, you can get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks for free, covering broadband, phone systems, IT support and more. Arrange your free audit today at maximumnetworks.co.uk.
Next year, BT switch off their old analogue network for good. Make sure your business is ready to switch over to cloud telephony. Get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks today, for free. Future-proof your business now. Arrange your free audit today at maximumnetworks.co.uk.
Let it go.
He's all the way around the outside. Miles for the lead. Side by side, who's going to be the bigger man?
Carl Boardley, 2023 TCR UK.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch, everybody, where qualifying is about to get underway for the first round of the season of the Miltech Sport Civic Cup. And I'll tell you what, if there is an air of anticipation surrounding TCR UK this season, double it, triple it, maybe quadruple it for what we have in store in the Miltech Sport Civic Cup. This is, I think, set to be the most competitive season that this championship has had. And it's never been short on competitive drama and action. It's a championship that has really won a place in most motorsport fans' hearts in this country, and I think 2024 is only going to further strengthen that position. Cars lining up then in assembly area, ready to head out onto a bright and sunny Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Andy McEwen here in the commentary box with Jack Oliphant alongside me, and Jack, I don't really have the words, not great for a commentator to say this, I know, but I don't really have the words to sum up what we're in store for here. I hope we're not overhyping it. I've got a feeling we're not. I think 2024 is really going to deliver.
I mean, when I was doing the research, looking at the driver entry list and everything like that, I did think, I actually think I'm slightly more excited for the Civic than I am the TCR, just because the calibre of driver that's coming in. I mean, we know that the Civics already had a high standard of driver, and then you have people dropping in from the likes of TCR UK, TCR Europe. There's so many people that are, I mean, not just people like champions of those championships that they were formerly raced in, and we've got champions from the Civic Cup who have moved into a different type of car. It's got everything that you would want, all the ingredients that you'd want to go into a season opener. We just hope that, as you say, we're not overhyping it.
No, absolutely. I mean, you just look at the entry list we've got. It is absolutely stacked. We've got at the top of it, car number 1, Max Edmonson, reigning champion, one of the youngest champions, if not actually maybe the youngest champion we've had in Civic Cup history. Won in dramatic fashion here in a nail-biting final round in 2023. He is back to defend his title, running with Area Motorsport, but within his own team, he's got competition from double former TCR UK champion Lewis Kent, who did a couple of rounds in Civic Cup at the back end of last year. He's in now for a full season campaign in 2024, but he's also got to deal with Josh Files within Area Motorsport as well. Josh has always had a very close relationship with Area. He was a factory Hyundai driver internationally in TCR competition, 4 times, I believe, a TCR champion down the years, and we are very much looking forward to seeing what he can do. Now, that is not the ideal start to a qualifying session. That is Alex Kite, who himself has raced in TCR UK in the past for a couple of rounds. He's just lost it on cold tyres coming out of Druids Corner. He is not, Jack, the first person we've seen do that today. These cars don't run on slick tyres like the TCR UK machines do. It is a semi-slick, but even they need to be treated with caution in the early laps.
Yeah, I was sort of looking at the monitor just to the right of our monitor from our commentary booth. Oh, that's suspension problem. I assume so, anyway, because that front left is not supposed to be turning that way, is it?
Well, they're both turning inwards. I think it's a steering arm maybe that's gone.
Well, I think his front right is trying to get him back onto the circuit, isn't it? And his front left is just saying, no, I don't think so. I'm not sure who it is because we've got the blurred. I can't quite see. It's one of the FN2s anyway, isn't it? So there's only 5 of them in the championship, so, you know, process of elimination, we've probably got, well, 20% chance of being right.
Wesley Swaite, I suspect. Or Harry England, actually. It could be either. It may well be Harry England. It's one of the Pro Alloys Racing FN2s. That is Lewis Kent. And he's still not recovered the drama. That was a huge moment coming out of Surtees. Lewis Kent always has been an exciting driver, let's be honest. Home circuit, remember, for the Kent man. And running with Area Motorsport for a full season campaign. And I think he means business, Jack.
You know, when we said we can't overhype how exciting this thing, it's been 3 minutes. They haven't put a hot lap in yet. We've had a spin, a breakdown, and someone kicking up dirt on the inside, being a bit too aggressive with it. I mean, that is exactly what we're coming to expect. And we go down Graham Hill Bend, I can see out there as well. There's like 3 of them side by side. But Lewis Kent, you're right, is he's one of the favourites. He's one of the drivers we're most excited to see. He's already flashing people out of the way. He's ready to rubber stamp his position in this championship.
Well, whilst he was having that colossal moment, he set the provisional pole position time, only to be beaten by a man who a minute ago was pointing the wrong way, Alex Kite. So those two both bouncing back from their dramas pretty well. There are yellow flags out, I fear, at Surtees, whilst the still mystery FN2 driver is dealt with. They'll be trying to get out of the car safely and out to a position of safety. Here is another of the FN2s, also run by Area Motorsport, which is a story in itself actually, because aboard car number 45 is multiple former Civic Cup champion Alistair Camp, who told myself and Paul O'Neill, we all got very emotional about it at the end of 2023, that he wasn't going to be coming back. He wanted to take a step away from racing, had a family to look after, had commitments away from the racetrack that he needed to take care of. And here he is 6 months later, back on track in the Civic Cup, but aboard an FN2. And if what we've been told is true, he said that's the only thing that lured him back was the prospect of driving one of these FN2s. Remember, the FN2s, they compete in exactly the same championship. They don't have their own class to the EP3s, and he will be therefore gunning for overall championship honours if he can. Sadly, though, his quest for pole position will have to take a back seat for a moment or two because we've got a red flag, the session is being stopped, and this, I suspect, is because of the car that's stuck there in a dangerous position down at Surtees. And Jack, I think you spotted that it may well be the number 92 car of Wesley Swain, who hasn't set a lap.
Yeah, no, I think even though we can't quite see on the focus sort of thing on our TSL timing, which you guys can access if you Google live timing.tsltiming.com, then you can find the live timing for TCR Civic Cup and anything else that's been going on in the country, really, because they are everywhere, aren't they? But yeah, unfortunately, there's a little exclamation mark by Swain's name, and he hasn't set a lap time, and he's the only car out of the drivers that have that. That is in an FN2, because the other one is Hillman, who's in the EP3. Unfortunately, don't know where Hillman is, but normally if there's an exclamation mark by their name, it means they're on circuit and abandoned somewhere, not in the pits. But there is what we assume is Swain, and that's a big shame, isn't that? Is the worst possible start. I've no idea where he picked up that suspension damage from.
I suspect the curb at Graham Hill Bend. I suspect he's clipped. It's the left front that's gone, isn't it? So I think he's possibly hit that curb a little bit too hard. You've got the red and white serrated curb, but then beyond that, where you shouldn't really be driving anyway, are those little yellow sausage curbs. They look little from up here, but down on the track, if you get a chance to walk the track at any point, you'll realise just how severe they are. And it could be that maybe a part was starting to get old, was ready to go, and then that was the hit that unfortunately broke it. The good news is it shouldn't take too long to get that car out of the way, because it's right behind the entry to the part ferme and assembly area, so hopefully it won't take too long to get the session back underway. In the meantime, it is Alex Kite fastest. He's done a 53.935. That is 4 tenths quicker than Lewis Kent. Sam Kirkpatrick is third, fourth quickest then for Liam McGill, and in fifth position is Macaulay Austin, one of the Pro Alloys drivers. A new name to me, Jack, Macaulay, but inside the top 5, ahead of the likes of former champion Alistair Camp, who is only 6th, Max Edmonson, the reigning champ, who's only 8th, and Josh Files, who is only 19th. Now, I realise they haven't yet set representative lap times, but even so, that is some pretty esteemed company that he is keeping. Pause then, because Owen Hillman has suddenly jumped up to second on the timing screen, so I suspect his issue is maybe more transponder related than any mechanical dramas.
Yeah, exactly. I was just having a look at you said about Macaulay Austin, and obviously each driver fills out a nice commentary form that would be really helpful for us to know information about drivers who are new to the championship. And obviously for some people, say the sponsors for Macaulay, it's he's put TBA, to be announced. That's fair enough. They might be working on those sponsorships. But under motorsport ambition, or season ambition, shall we say, he also put to be announced as well. So I'm not really sure what that means. But he's apparently he's a good karter. Had a lot of karting success, and there's a MS UK Academy driver. But he is 28 now, so maybe that's why he's stepping up into the Civics.
And he's also a karting racing mechanic for one Finlay Lyons, who
of course he is. Yes,
the son of Stuart Nicky Lyons, who run TCR UK in the Milltech Sports Civic Cup, and Macaulay therefore, not that we're playing favourites here, but I'm sure that Nicky, who can't be here this weekend unfortunately, is watching and cheering him on, and so far he's doing well. He's just outside the top 5 now that Owen Hillman has been slotted back in on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was still getting used to being in the Brands Hatch commentary box, because those windows make an awful lot of noise, don't they? I'm sorry if you hear that in the background. Another driver that sort of caught my attention a little bit. In fact, there's Swade, finally confirmation that the number 92 is the one that's stricken on the side. That was a bit of a shame as well. He's only 16. He wants some consistent top 10 finishes this season. Apparently, that's not the way to do it. You can actually see him spying out, almost looking at the camera there, wasn't it, I think? But that's a big sort of... It hits the confidence as well if you're that young, to be honest. For me, it's... I don't know how much car racing he's done, if any, previous to this. It probably would have been karting. If he's only 16, it's likely that he's only really done karting. Or he could have been in the junior championships, to be fair. But that's the last thing you really want. Yeah, there we go. He was karting from the age of 10 to 15 in various things, top 10 finishes and everything like that. But to be fair, yeah, he did top 10 finishes in the Mark 7 Fiesta Junior Championship last year. So he has been in cars before, so maybe it won't be as big a hit to the confidence as I was suspecting. As the cars are now getting back out on circuit, that's a relief. It was a very quick turnaround. I don't think they even moved the car that far, did they? Just made it sure it was just enough out the way that it wasn't on the exit of the corner potentially. So yeah, tucked him back, and hopefully he'll get that car fixed and ready to go for the race in a couple of hours time, which does come to, we should probably announce that, shouldn't we? With 5:15, I believe, is the Miltech Sports Civic Cup race 1, and then there's 2 tomorrow, of course.
There are indeed triple header this weekend for the Civic Cup. As you can see, cars back out on track, then session back underway, and we've got Alex Kite then looking to try and defend his pole position, whilst Max Edmonson looks to try and defend his championship victory from last year. Max running within the Area Motorsport swarm, Area Motorsport Pro Alloys Racing, running basically half the grid, I think, between them. So expect plenty of healthy competition between the two biggest teams on the grid. Here comes Liam McGill dropping downhill. He's 5th quickest at the moment. And I do enjoy the yellow rims on his... they almost look like yellow sidewalls to the tyre. They're not. I think it is the alloy that's been painted yellow, but that makes that car stand out quite nicely. That's new for his 2024 livery. But Liam McGill, again, setting out his stall immediately as one of the early season favourites. Busy track out there, but already drivers starting to improve, and we've got a new fastest time set by the driver of car number 12. That is Spencer Stevenson. Spencer running for Ben Sharp Racing. Let's not forget about Ben Sharp, also a former champion in Civic Cup, and these days runs a very, very successful team, and his driver was at the top of the times. Off at Surtees, I think that is, has gone Jamie Petters, whilst at the top of the times, it's all changed. Josh Files goes quickest by 0.2 of a second over Harvey Caton, with Alistair Camp in 3rd.
Yeah, so Josh Files getting exactly where we expected him to do. This is a very messy start to the weekend for the Civics, isn't it? It's something that we were hoping we wouldn't see, but with a stacked grid like we have, there's always those possibilities, isn't it, really? And everybody's just trying to vie for the little bit of space on the circuit, and when you've got 23 cars, 25 cars, but obviously less sway, yeah, there's not that much room on this Bantash Indy circuit, so a lot of drivers having to try and suss themselves out. We've obviously had stoppages, that cools the tyres down, it cools the momentum that the drivers might have. People having to overtake, in fact, as Max Edmonson goes top of the times.
And that was Max Edmonson overtaking, so he caught that traffic just at the end of the lap, but set a new fastest time at 53.185. Files 2nd, Spencer Stevenson back up to 3rd. It's going to be one of those fast and frenetic qualifying sessions, isn't it? Only 15 minutes the session, as always, for Civic Cup, and we're nearly halfway through the allotted time already, and Edmonson back where he will think he belongs. I'm absolutely fascinated, Jack, this year to watch the battle between Max and his teammates, because he's got 3 proven quantities in that team now. He's always had quick teammates. Last year he had quick teammates at Area Motorsport, but Josh Vars, Lewis Kent, Alistair Camp, they are going to give him a real run for his money, and it's the mind games as much as it is the battle out on track that I cannot wait to see play out.
It's the mental game, honestly. He needs to learn from them, but obviously they are competitors, and they'll probably be there trying to, not in a harsh way, but obviously trying to gain a competitive edge with their experience and knowing maybe what to say to a young driver to get into their heads. And we actually heard in the pits that potentially it was a little bit getting to him. Maybe he was a little bit shaky. That target of the number 1 on his car was weighing a little bit heavier than, say, Carl Boardley in the TCR, obviously, who was very experienced, knows what to do, doesn't really worry about anything, whereas Edmondson obviously wanting to stake a claim, wanting to make it as a full-time racing driver, make it his career at the age of 18. A lot of pressure to put on yourself.
It certainly is, but what he's achieved already at such a young age is phenomenal. He is an incredible talent, no doubt about it, and went on a real journey through 2023, did Max Edmonson, and so far, so good at the beginning of his 2024 journey. He is fastest then with 6.5 minutes to go. Second fastest, Spencer Stevenson. Didn't necessarily see that one coming, but Spencer, who barrels his way through Paddock Hill Bend now in the silver and blue number 12 car, on the front row. He's got nearly a 10th in hand then over Josh Files and Lewis Kent. What a second row of the grid that would be if those two were to line up together. Will Redford up into 5th position, Harvey Caton down to 6th, Camp is 7th, Alex Kite is 8th, Liam McGill 9th, and Owen Hillman completing the top 10, but those top 10 covered by just 0.6 of a second, and the first second takes you down to about 14th or 15th as Simon Welch has a big spin at Surtees.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? I mean, because where was Simon Welch just before that? I was sort of keeping an eye on him. He's 23rd place. He's one of the drivers that obviously needs to get some kind of track time under his belt, try and get up the order a little bit. He does say in his commentary thing that he likes to be called Squelch, apparently.
Yes.
So
I've still never asked him why, actually. I need to add that to my list of questions when I see him later.
I imagine it's some kind of childhood nickname. Simon Welch. It sort of makes sense, doesn't it? A bit harsh if your teacher called you that or something like that back in the day. But yes, he's unfortunately squelching around in the mud, wasn't he, there for a couple of seconds' time. That's the only time I'll make that joke this season, don't worry.
Very good, very good. Impressed with that. Yeah, Simon, who often has had conversations with me about not always getting a huge amount of camera time. Well, we caught that, Simon. So that is the best way for you to get some TV time. Well, it's not the best way, but it's a way for you to get some TV time. Alex Kite here, backing off, trying to find some clear tracks. So difficult to do, isn't it, around a circuit like this when you've got, what, 24 cars now circulating around the track. Someone's just been off at Paddock as well, but it's just so busy out there. You've got to be on it. When you do get that clear track, you might only have it for a lap or two. You've got to perform immediately.
Yeah, it's so hard to sort of get into that mindset and also execute, because you could just have a moment like that. And that's a big moment that we caught on camera for Kite, and well, I'll tell you what, very entertaining, but not the way he wanted to be featured on camera, just like Welch earlier on.
I almost wonder if there's something on the track, because that's the second car in quick succession that's been off at Paddock Hill Bend, but everyone behind him is managing it. So his rallycross version of an EP3 Honda Civic rejoined the circuit, looking rather dirtier than it did a few seconds ago. And Alex will sadly now probably have to come into the pit lane just to check the car over, or at the very least spend a couple of laps shaking the gravel out of the car, because, and I don't mean to say that you speak from experience here, Jack, but I'm sure you know people who have been in the gravel before. It gets everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like you are trying to coax me into something there, Andy, and I'm sure it won't be the first time this season. To be fair, Paddock Hill is actually one of the few places that I didn't actually have any problems. Yeah, one of the few places on this calendar that I was all right at. Wait until we get to Croft, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, no, it is really difficult, Paddock Hill Bend, and the thing is, we were literally just talking about having to warm the car, get the space, and then perform. And the problem is, Paddock Hill is a very difficult corner to perform on, and when there's only 4 or 5 corners out there on the circuit, every single one of them is so key, so crucial. Brands Hatch, you'll have heard it over the years, ladies and gentlemen, from every commentator under the sun who's ever commentated here, but every corner here is not like any other. Okay, everyone is individual. You can't go somewhere like a Silverstone, an Alton Park, a Thruxton, and practice for any of the corners that you see here at Brands. Everyone's got a different undulation, different attack angle, different turning point. There's nothing simple about this circuit. It is really all about circuit knowledge and that experience, and I think that's why we saw Victor Anderson only getting quicker in the TCR qualifying, because he didn't have that, and then all of a sudden you could see him learning it, and then he was able to perform it at the end. But that's why the likes of Max Edmonson, knowing the car, knowing this circuit, obviously doing it for a fair few years now, he's been able to get out there and straight perform from the off.
I've made the point a few times today already, speaking about TCR more than Civics, about drivers maybe learning new cars and sort of it might take them a couple of rounds to get up to speed, and so those with experience need to make hay whilst they can and bank the points early on. I think it's almost a similar situation here. There's no doubt in my mind that Josh Files, Lewis Kent, Alistair Camp, they're going to be winning races by the time we get probably 2 or 3 events into the season, but perhaps it's this opening round where maybe they could be a little more vulnerable. That was a big moment up the inside for Macaulay Austin, that wasn't it, going into Druid's Corner. How's he faring now? He slipped out of the top 10, I think, down to 16th position, but respectable nonetheless. But yeah, I do think that Max Edmonson, it won't be lost on him that he needs to try and take points out of some of his expected rivals when he gets the opportunity to do so, and looking at how he's going in qualifying so far, I think today is definitely going to be one of those opportunities.
Yeah, and I think from your point earlier about the personally, the Civic Cup is a cheaper championship to enter, isn't it? And it's potentially, although I don't think many people would like to say it very often, but it's a bit of a sort of a step down. It's almost like a feeder series to the TCR, isn't it? TCR is the main billing. A lot of drivers who maybe have raced TCR, raced it very well, maybe haven't put the time into to test the Civics quite as much, and they're not as easy. They're not just a slow TCR. They're very much an individual car in themselves. And as we saw, see Austin after making those moves up the inside, then moving out of the way to let everybody else through. A bit of a strange tactic there in qualifying with a minute and a half to go. So that's what I mean by it. Some drivers will have that familiarity with the cars, and that counts for a lot. And plus Civics, if it's a cheapy championship to enter, you might see people not testing as much because they don't have the budget to go out there and test, hence why they're in this championship rather than some others.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it does take a lot of time to learn these cars, again because it's so evenly matched out there as well. To learn the intricacies of a Civic Cup car can take some time. Now, I didn't panic initially when I saw Max Edmonson going quite slowly because I just thought he was getting out of people's way, but he has now got out of everybody's way and still is going slowly. So is this an issue for the reigning champion? He's got 45 seconds of the session to go, so he doesn't have time to do another lap after this. It does rather look like he's touring.
It's a shame, really, because he is in the perfect track position right now to be going quickly as well, isn't he? I mean, anybody out there who's really trying to put a fast lap in would be wanting to be exactly here. He's sort of moving the car around a little bit. I don't think that was to warm any kind of tyres. I think he's trying to suss out whether there's a problem potentially or not. But with 22 seconds to go, he's not even going to get around to the start-finish line to start a new lap, is it? Look, he's absolutely just on the white line, letting everybody go through. This is a little bit of a worry, really, to see our reigning champion in this sort of state going into the weekend. Yeah, he's definitely not going to make it to the start-finish line to start another lap. He's just going to be going straight into the pit time, imagine. He's going at a very constant speed, isn't he? He's not accelerating or decelerating. Almost like he's stuck in gear or something. Yeah, exactly. But why he didn't pit straight away, I don't really know. Why he's not pitting now, I really don't know. So Max Edmonson continues on his way. He will take the checkered flag. Maybe just wanted to take the checkered flag and have his moment of glory because he does appear to be headed for pole position. The good news is that if he eventually comes into the pit lane, I'll be able to ask him what the potential issue was because I've got to head downstairs now and interview him. Yeah, a slightly bizarre conclusion to the qualifying session. Yeah, that one was a strange one as Andy now gets his race shoes on himself, and for the second time, fourth time today, he's actually racing down there. He'll end up doing it about 6 or 7 times as well. But Stevenson came into the pit lane to finish qualifying, wasn't going quicker. Josh Files and Lewis Kent were already in the pits when the checkered flag dropped. McGill, Redford, Marshall, none of them going quicker. But I have seen that Dave Marshall qualifying as 7th position means that he is the highest FN2 car that is currently being represented. And just having a look at the Civic Cup, there is a Goodyear Diamond Award as well. Trevor McConnell is eligible for that. Simon Welch also eligible for that we saw earlier on, having a bit of a moment. And Mark Hughes, so keep an eye out for those names to see who's got pole position in the Goodyear Diamond Award, but of course they do sit flush with the rest of the drivers as well. There's also the Paul Winfield Trophy, and there is the FN2 sort of just in the mix there as well. But we'll get you qualifying confirmation as all the drivers, in fact, there we go, have now come into the pits with Max Edmonson on pole position. A 10th down the line is Spencer Stevenson. Josh Files would... it'd be interesting to know whether he's disappointed with that, coming in 3rd place, 0.2 of a second. I think he'd be more bothered about how far the distance is between himself and pole. The number 99, Lewis Kent in 4th place. Again, probably going to be slightly disappointed, 0.3 of a second. The gaps are much larger here in the Civic Cup than they were in the TCR, and that's actually quite a surprise to us. In 5th place is Liam McGill, number 62. Will Redford ended up in 6th position, the Cheshire-based driver, and he was 3.5 off. Dave Marshall, as I said earlier, is the highest FN2 finisher in that qualifying. He's in 7th again. Oh, well, I would say Dave Marshall was one of the drivers we tipped to be very quick in that FN2. He's driven it for quite some time, but his direct competition, you could argue, is a couple of places down. We'll get to him in a second. Harvey Caton is in 8th place at 54. And then Alistair Camp at the wrong end of the top 10 from where we're used to seeing him, nearly half a second off pole position in his 2nd place in the FN2 little battle that they've got going on. In the top 10, just about, was Alex Kite in the 97. He was a driver that we saw having a little bit of a spin earlier, coming out on the warm-up lap, coming out of Druids. Luckily, he didn't end up at the barrier, to be honest. I did at one point think, when I saw him lose it, that we could have a bit of an expensive invoice straight away. Owen Hillman is in 11th place. Sam Kirkpatrick in 12th. Nicholas Cristofaro is in 13th. Jordan Brennan in 14th. A lot further down than we expect to see him. Josh Bromley in 15th. And Macaulay Austin in 16th. 17th, Charlotte Birch. Harry England, one of the new karters that we've got to the championship, in 18th place. Jamie Petters, who had that off early on as well, in 19th. Mark Hughes, one of the drivers I mentioned for the Diamond Award, is in 20th. Trevor McConnell is in 21st, William Butt 22nd, Aidan Hassan in 23rd, and Simon Welch all the way down in 24th position. So I think out of all of those drivers, in terms of the Diamond, it is Mark Hughes, I believe, who is in 20th position, who is the highest eligible driver for that one. And as we cut to a short advert break, but just before we cut to a short advert break, actually, let's have a look at when the action's coming up. Well, you can see on a separate live stream, the BRSCC support races will be coming up after the lunch break. They'll kick off at about 20 past 1. Obviously, everything's slightly provisional based on red flags and lunch timings. The next TCR action that you can see will be at 10 to 3. We'll be going up, and me and Andy will be going up and down the pits and the grid walk for that one. We'll also be able to bring you pit walks and interviews from all the drivers on the TCR social media. And lastly, the Miltech Sports Civic Cup race 1 of the weekend will be at 5:15. So by all means, keep it pinned to TCR UK YouTube page where you'll find all that. But if you want to see Andy McEwen have a chat to reigning champion and pole position man Max Edmonson, well, you can see that in a couple of minutes' time after this short advert break.
So we're 6 months on, but some things, it seems, never change in the Miltech Sports Civic Cup. Max Edmonson, pole position for the opening round of the championship. Really couldn't have hoped for a better start to the season, could you? There's a lot of talk about how competitive it is out there this year, and you've just got to prove you're still the fastest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the grid this year is a lot more competitive last year. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but it's definitely gone up another step. But yeah, according to data yesterday, I was struggling quite a lot, to be fair. So I put a lap together, and obviously the first half of quali was pretty useless because there was a yellow flag. So it should have been red flag straight away, to be honest. But I put one lap together, and I was just praying for another one, and then it was literally the lap straight after. And after that, the tyres were pretty much gone. So.
How are you feeling coming into this season then? You've got the #1 on your car, there's a lot of expectation that comes with that, but you must have a lot of confidence. You're not normally lacking in confidence, in fair, but you must be having that confidence now that you can go out there and do it again, right?
Yeah, I mean, last year I was hoping for a top 5 in the championship, and obviously I won it. But I feel like there's weight lifted off my shoulders, but there's weight also on my shoulders because people are expecting things from me. But yeah, I just take it in strides.
Well, you're delivering on that so far, certainly after that qualifying effort. Also, a lot of talk about your teammates this year. You've got some very talented and very experienced teammates running within Area Motorsport for this season. Are you sort of learning from them, or are they almost coming to you now as the more experienced driver in Civic Cup for advice?
No, I mean, in advice-wise regarding the cars, kind of, but so everyone in our team knows the cars quite well. They've all done other stuff, but obviously you could be fast in an F1 car and you could be bad in one of these. It doesn't really matter. It's sort of car dependent. So I think everyone's they're not one up on each other. Everyone's sort of level-headed. So yeah, it's just a good team to work with. Everyone's nice.
Got a few hours now to get yourself in the right mindset for the race later on. Get the car ready for the race later on. What are the sort of hopes and expectations for that first race? Obviously, you want to win. You've qualified on pole. That's the idea, but point scoring early in the season, that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, you just need to stay consistent. I mean, last year, I think out of like the 17 races I was on the podium, 15 of them or something. Yeah, it's actually just about consistency. It's not all about like win. It's all about staying towards the top 5, top 10.
Excellent. Well, Max, congratulations on the pole position. Best of luck for race 1. Race 1 for the Civic Cup coming up later on this afternoon, about 5:15. That is it for this morning here at Brands Hatch, but we will have live racing coming your way at around about 1:15 later on this afternoon with a whole host of BRSCC support races, plus the opening rounds of TCR UK and the Miltech Sports Civic Cup, where this man will be starting from pole position. So be sure to join us later on in the afternoon for a day full of racing here at Brands Hatch.